suck somebody's breast. The question is, for these people that have these bad habits, is addiction. Mother's milk can be addictive, water can be addictive. So you have to work on your addiction problems, not just find you're an addict, you have to work on it just as I am. I have those tendencies. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't even drink coffee anymore. And I don't regularly consume alcohol at all. But the main thing is addiction, not trying to find substitutes. For instance, one of my brother-in-law, who had the same problem as myself, he quit all the drugs, but he started eating way too much food, and now he weighs 350 pounds. So, this I'm really happy because I want to see this. Vaping is nothing more than a product of addiction and addiction tendencies, and young people see this example for young people because, this is acceptable, but cigarette smoking isn't. That's nonsense. Cigarettes, the one thing a human being does not need to do, anybody, is to feed their addictive tendencies if in fact they have them. Mahalo.
Thank you, sir. Our second of the two testifiers on this round is Ms. He will be speaking on communication 1064, presenting himself.
Good day, council. I am Tom Travis. I live on Papaya Farms Road, and will be on the south side of the flow if in fact the flow continues to the ocean. I have several comments. The first has to do with the nature of emergency response at Puna Geothermal Venture. There are two levels of emergency plans. One is the county's plan, and one is the Puna Geothermal Venture Emergency Response Plan, which is a document required by the permitting process. Critical to both of those plans is access to the plant. There is much discussion about the timeframes necessary to get hazmat and fire there, how the police will control the flow of traffic, and what's needed at the plant. Since that is a fundamental building block of the emergency response plan of Puna Geothermal Venture, road closures, especially Highway 130, will have a significant impact, often limiting access to the plant to a possible single route and definitely delaying the response time. I ask that we review the status of updating the PGV plans if Highway 130 is closed. I also ask that we review the updated county plans to address problems demonstrated on 7 August when Tropical Storm Azelle happened, problems with access that can only be exacerbated by closure of Highway 130. Also, I ask that a criteria be established to stop the state of emergency. Where the flow goes and when it will get there is unknown. As we can clearly see, as I remember it, Highway 130 was supposedly going to be closed sometime in September, and now it is entirely possible that it will be well after Christmas. We do not need help supervising who comes to our homes, preventing reasonable access for those that want to see the lava, closing roads with little or no justification except someone's paternal interest, and unreasonable restrictions on the press. I fully support use of the state of emergency when that is required, both in time and in importance. However, it is clear that we can't have a state of emergency perpetually there. I ask that we establish a criteria to stop the emergency powers.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for returning to Hilo. Tim Michael and Shelley Ogata, please come forward. And could we get June Conant and Layla Kealoha up here in the front rows to replace them. Mr. Michael, please press the bar at the base of the unit. That's good. Give your name. You've got up to 3 minutes.
Council,
And if you're going to speak on more than one issue, no, you're just going to speak on
I'm just
2.
going to speak on 302.
Go ahead.
164 has gotten plenty of coverage.
All right.
Everybody knows what's happening with that. First of all, I'd like to present a little over 1,000 signatures that were collected in the last 3 weeks, stopping to stop Bill 302. This is just on this side. I think Mr. Sarabi also has a stack of signatures on a petition the same way. Again, my name is Tim Michael. I was a smoker for 36 years. I quit smoking with the help of an e-cigarette. I walked into a shop one day, decided to try it. The next day I put down my pack of cigarettes and didn't pick it up again. I started out at high nicotine and I've been stepping down the entire time. The man in Pahoa was talking about addiction. Part of this addiction is a hand-to-mouth fetish. It's a hand-to-mouth thing. The patch doesn't take care of that. Gum doesn't take care of that. The thing that takes care of it, that took care of it for me and it's taking care of it for millions of people now, is the e-cigarette. I understand wanting to make some regulations. That totally makes sense. Oh, there we go. That totally makes sense to make regulations. Age regulations. I understand that completely. Regulations in your county buildings. I completely get that. That's your jurisdiction. Regulating in private businesses, I just don't see it. I don't understand where you're coming from with cigarettes at the beach. That was a rubbish issue. When it was brought up, all of the discussion from the council itself was rubbish. They leave rubbish at the beaches. They leave rubbish in our parks. We don't leave rubbish. Yet you're trying to add us to the same bill. What I would ask you is write a bill specific to e-cigarettes. Don't try to fit this square peg into a round hole. It's not going to fit where you want, and all you're going to do is alienate people over the whole thing. I've sent every one of you a letter from the the Surgeon General of the United States, Anthony Carmona, and he specifically asks council people not to pass unwarranted regulation on e-cigarettes. And this is, again, the Surgeon General. If he's asking this, he has a reason. They were the ones that put out all the onus on cigarettes in the first place. I also sent you a study called Peering Through the Mist, where on the very first page, their conclusion is, after going through a lot of peer-reviewed studies and gray matter, you have 30 seconds, that there is no detectable particulate matter in the exhale of vapor. So I would just think about this really hard before you do this. You're potentially alienating an entire group of people by throwing this into a bill that's already been created. Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Good morning, council members. Shelley Ogata in support of Bill 302. Recently, I've become a statistic and have done a little more research on asthma. Studies show that lifetime likelihood of developing asthma is about 10.5% greater in women than men. While doing my research, one of the things that comes across really strongly is that the best therapies for people with asthma is to be able to partake of other recreational and physical activities outdoors. So I've been asking myself, as a woman with a respiratory disability, am I potentially being alienated and discriminated against? Why aren't we taking the proper measures to ensure safety for our men, women, and children with respiratory disabilities? I'll keep this brief, so please think about protecting my health and the health of other people with respiratory disabilities, especially our women and children, by allowing us to partake of beach and park activities free from worrying about drug exposure and asthma triggers from secondhand ESD aerosol. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. June Conant, Lila Kealoha, and could we have Makani Gregg and Michelle Haraishi sitting in the front row, ready to step forward. Ms. Conant, please identify yourself. Push the button at the base of the unit. Identify yourself and you may have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is June Conant, and I'm here representing myself today. Here for other reasons, but I volunteered here as part of the Aloha Road Ambassadors. And just a couple of weeks ago, we had some people coming off the ship, and of course, it's very, very busy with some of the big ships that come in, and we have a very small area to try and give people information. And there were a couple of people coming out apparently with e-cigarettes. I did not know they had e-cigarettes, and I was in a large group of people speaking to them. As I turned around, I saw smoke, what appeared to be smoke, and I tapped the gentleman on his shoulder and said, you know, our smoking area is over here or away from the building. And he says, well, I'm not smoking, so I can do this. And I said, well, sir, it's very busy right now. We have a lot of people here. I really would appreciate it if you could go over to that area. And he says, well, I just don't have to. And there's no law that says I have to. So I'm here on behalf of dealing with our visitors and asking that if I could say that the county ordinance says that e-cigarettes do fall into that category, and we would appreciate the fact that we would go over there. That would be much appreciated for me.
Good morning. My name is Leila Kealoha, a resident of Pahoa, Puna, Hawaii. I've been for 38 years. The reason why I'm here today is just to seek communication 1064.2. And thanks to social media, my neighbor, I was able to find out about this discussion of possibly closing off Highway 130, the whole bypass previous to the actual direction. It is a lifeline for many of us that come in and out of Pahoa. My husband travels that road every day to go to work. We have coworkers, students. I work at a charter school. We use that route every day for our students, for people that come in and out of work. I'm sure you're all familiar that a road in Pahoa town has already been shut off, and it's already caused a major chaos of traffic patterns that have happened in town already. And with this shutdown of County Public School and students from Pahoa that are all on the other side, the pressures on our roads from Paradise Park to Keao are going to be a lot more extreme. So I just want you to consider, you know, if the matter comes forward to you, to please support not closing the road, you know, previous to it actually having to be closed. And also, I just want to reiterate what John Olson had said earlier about looking at the access road through railroad and really looking at how to better that road for us, because once it, and if and once it does become the actual access that we have to use coming out of Pahoa, it's going to be pretty tough for us. So just looking at how to better that, and then hopefully maybe there's a way to look at actually alleviating some of the extra pressures that we got onto our roads from the Ainaloa to Keao area by possibly opening up that other section of the road that goes into Keao and leading into the area. So just want to say thank you very much for all your hard work and the support of our community with all that's been going on. It's just really, you know, when I hear things like this, it's really challenging because we're living in a very uncertain world each day, unsure of what's going to happen. We're kind of going to, you know, take a breath right now because she stopped. You know, really stopped, and we're just, you know, waiting to see what happens. But when I hear things about our bypass being shut off, it's like, are you kidding me? So I just want to encourage you to really consider the needs of the residents in the area and to just thank you very much.
Thank you. Makani Gregg, Michelle Haraishi, followed by Hannah Hedrick up here in the front row, and Degler, Yagazarian. Yagazarian?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll let you clean that up for me. All right, Makani Greg, please go ahead. Please give your name.
Aloha, my name is Makani Green, I live in Pahoa, and I just wanted to support to play on what John said earlier, is that to really consider not closing the bypass before you need to, because I use that road, my other half uses that road for work, and yeah, it would just be humbug just to shut it off before we even need to.
Thank you very much. Michelle?
Aloha, good morning. My name is Michelle Hiraishi, and I'm Executive Director for Hilo, which is Native Hawaiian Healthcare on Hawaii Island. I thank you folks for the opportunity to speak this morning, and I certainly thank you, Councilman Puna, for championing this Bill 302 that we know is very much in support of. It's a tough issue that you folks are facing. It's a very emotional issue, but I do remind you, as well as everyone that is has an opinion on this issue, that you are not banning electronic smoking devices. You are purely regulating where those electronic devices can be used. And every single day, staff deal with the effects of smoking in one form or another in the form of cancer. And the staff that you will see here in the room today just to support this. We've heard this morning, and we've heard often, that electronic cigarettes don't necessarily have nicotine in them, that it's vegetable oil or vegetable juice, and how healthy it is. But what I remind you folks is we deal every day with, and that's smoking behavior. And what we're saying to our kids is exactly like the gentleman from Pahoa mentioned. We're saying, don't smoke, smoking is bad, it gives you cancer, it can kill you, it's stinky, it costs money. Oh, but not these kind, because they taste like really what? Not these kind, because they taste like vegetable. So we very much support that regulation to remind people that it's still smoking. And I myself was a smoker for 31 years. And in those 31 years, I tried to quit 1,000 times. And it was the 1,001 that I had to say exactly that. I have to look at my addict behavior. I have to look at my addiction and not use other crutches, whether it has nicotine or not, because I still am giving that hand to mouth kind of activity. It still is a smoking behavior. So we urge you very, very strongly to please lead the charge, as Hawaii County has done so frequently. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to the mainland to participate in a national conference for Asian American Pacific Islanders and Native Hawaiians. And in that group, it was all about advocacy for those individuals in things like tobacco cessation and how tobacco companies target those minority groups. And I was so proud to stand up in that forum that included people across the nation, including from White House Initiative, to be able to stand up and say, do you know Hawaii County does not allow smoking of any kind in cars with a youngster? Do you know that Hawaii County leads the charge in stopping smoking in public parks and public facilities? And I'm so proud to be able to say that that's what we do here, because we don't just talk about people's health. We really walk that talk. We enforce those rules across the board. So I really encourage you folks to please support Bill 302.
Ms. Hiraishi.
Hiraishi, yes.
Yes, I saw it. Mispronounced your name. Hannah Hedrick, followed by Medler
Yagazarian.
Okay, and then we want Quincy Lewis and Shayna, I think it's Shayna Ramos, come forward to the front row. Okay, go ahead. You just turned your mic off. Oh, okay, go ahead.
My name is Hannah Hedrick, and I'm deeply grateful for this opportunity to testify before a council that's continuing the work of having the most progressive tobacco-free legislation in the nation. No other municipality and no other county has more progressive legislation than we do. I have been a tobacco-free advocate for more than 50 years, longer than many of you are old. I have a picture of me with a Surgeon General, C. Everett Koop, taken about 35 years ago when I had an afro. And we worked very strongly. I was working for the American Medical Association at that time. We worked very strongly, of course, as you know, on a tobacco-free advocacy. I was surprised to hear a comment that any Surgeon General is advocating that e-cigarettes not be included, because I don't think that that would be what Julius Richmond and other Surgeon Generals had in mind. I am concerned that we will allow appeals to personal freedom to weaken our successful education and support programs. Thanks to the council for all the old posters and new posters that we now have related to all of our legislation. But how are we going to handle it if we're excluding electronic smoking devices? Will those posters have to be redone saying, you know, except for electronic smoking devices? So I've written to each of you individually, and I've written to this committee expressing my concerns primarily about the impact on youth, which has been expressed by others as well. And that is electronic cigarettes, if it's permitted, it teaches, that sends a message that I think subtracts from our public health responsibilities. So I really implore you to pass this bill, not waiting for more morbidity and mortality information about the dangers of exposure to electronic smoking devices, but understanding the clear and present danger from testimony here. My father died at the age of 54 when I was 19 years old, begging to die from tobacco-related cancers. And please do everything you can to protect the youth and residents of this county so that that pattern does not repeat itself. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Beglar Yegazari, and I am the owner of Vapor Bar located in downtown Hilo. First off, I want to make sure very clear that I have a very strong stance against tobacco and tobacco-like products. I hate that this up-and-coming industry is being compared to cigarettes and tobacco products. It upsets me immensely when vaporizers get a bad reputation when they are the very thing that customers helps them with smoking cigarettes. Knowing that there are over 4,000 cancer-causing chemicals in cigarettes, my entire business model and mission is to help people like myself who have smoked cigarettes for years and change their life around by introducing them to a healthy alternative. That being said, I have successfully created a business environment where people can come together and support each other's struggle to adjusting to a healthier lifestyle. By passing this bill and banning the use of vaporizers and electronic cigarettes in locations like my place of the business, you would be taking away so much from so many people. You would be taking away our liberty, you would be taking away our health, and you would be taking away the only way we know how to help with the nasty, harmful habit. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to my perspective, and thank you for taking the view into consideration, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Quincy Lewis, followed by Michelle Noelani Kai Taylor. So Michelle, please come on up to the table. Those two will be followed by Sally Anchetta and Tammy McAllen. Mr. Lewis, please go ahead.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the council. My name is Quincy Lewis, and I'm here testifying against Bill 302. I'm not entirely opposing it. I just believe that the bill needs to be reworked and reworded. So I was a smoker for over 10 years since I was in the military, and for about last year I quit smoking, and I just use the vaporizer. I don't even use it all the time, just whenever the need arises. And I guess that's it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lewis. Ms. Taylor.
Good morning. Thank you for hearing us. Thank you for all you do. I really appreciate you. I'm here as a student, a doctor of pharmacy student at the University of Hawaii. My name is Michelle Noelani Kai Taylor. I am interested in this topic because I take health seriously, and I'm grateful that people were able to quit smoking by using this product called e-cigarettes. However, I see that that not disapproving the use of e-cigarettes can be equated to approving the use of e-cigarettes, and this could have a large impact on our youth. I ask that before the council approves something indirectly by not disapproving it, that they would allow time for some research to be done. There is some proof that this is harmful. Some e-cigarettes do contain chemicals that are harmful, but think about even those that are just supposedly just containing things that they claim to be unharmful, such as polyethylene glycol. How many of us go into a room and just inhale such an item? Are your lungs made for such items? So I would ask that the council consider this to be a dangerous item until it's proven to not be dangerous. And this could have a very huge impact on our youth to indirectly approve such an item. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Sally and Chad, did she step out? She's, oh, correct. Come on up. And Tammy McAller, followed by Jennifer Griffith. Come on up to the front row. Jessica Yamaguchi, please come to the front row. Sally, please go ahead. Good morning.
Sorry, sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to point out, Madam Chair, is there any testifiers in the
Well, according to my notes, no. Any of the other sites, did you get any additional testifiers?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, we have two.
Okay, as soon as that. Not in Kohala. Any place else besides Pahoa have additional testifiers? No. Okay, we'll take these two over in Hilo. We will go to Pahoa after that and take those two testifiers. Thank you for waiting patiently. Go ahead.
Good morning, Hawaii County Council members and Chair Court. Thank you for the opportunity to again testify in support of adding electronic smoking devices to our smoking laws that we already have in Hawaii County. First and foremost, this is an opportunity to have consistent and concise laws that are comprehensive and clear. So we know what are truly our public places and our workplaces that are smoke-free. And these electronic smoking devices just do not emanate the materials that have been spoken about today, but they're an aerosol. They contain benzene, cadmium, formaldehyde, isoprene, lead, nickel, and whoever is vaping or exhaling this aerosol, if you're standing next to them or sitting next to them, you are then inhaling all of these chemicals yourself. Bystanders breathe in the ESD vapor. We'd like you to join other municipalities across the country who have done exactly this, added the electronic smoking device to their already smoke-free workplaces. In Louisville City, Colorado, they added this unanimously, a vote of their county council, and they did this for several reasons. First, because of the potential health risks of the vapor, the possibility of law enforcement mistaking e-cigarettes for tobacco cigarettes, and most importantly, the undesired exposure to youth of behaviors that might encourage smoking. And how can that touch us? Well, locally, it's been touching us quite a bit. I've recently been speaking in front of high school students. I get to present every semester at Waikea Health classes, 150 students, and I've spoken to 3 classes. Out of the 3 classes are about 90 students. No more than 6 have tried a traditional cigarette, but over 30 are already using an e-cigarette. If we allow this behavior to be used in our parks and beaches, we're doing just as what has been mentioned here, that we're saying this is safe and this is something we can do. But I don't want to just share my research, which we have tremendous amounts of today, but I want to share their voices. They were not able to get out of school today and speak, but you do have their testimony. It's been emailed to you. Naga Hero says, electronic smoking devices are bad for your health. and should not be promoted in public where there are a lot of kids. Devin says, I think it's strange that people can smoke their electronic devices in places where tobacco is banned in Hawaii. These devices are still known as smoking tobacco products, so they should not be smoked where these are already banned. And Daisy simply puts, I want to be able to breathe fresh air wherever I go. Electronic smoking devices may damage my lungs and my health. I don't want to die because of someone else's actions. This is a prudent action we're asking you to take to restrict the use of these products where smoking is already prohibited. And finally, we've been talking a lot about addiction.
Excuse me, your time is now up.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much, Tammy McGowan.
Morning. Thank you very much for the opportunity to offer testimony in support of Hawaii County Bill 302. And I also want to thank you for your hard work, effort, and patience in listening to everyone. I also want to urge you to keep the focus on what the bill is about, and that it is the main topic is really integrating the use the place where electronic smoking devices are used into the other smoke-free laws. There should be no question about supporting this bill. It's protecting the public's health, all of the public's. As a public health professional, I'm happy to know that the majority of the public on this island, that's 85% of them, living in your districts, don't use ESDs or smoke. So the majority of people aren't smoking. Everyone, residents and visitors alike, deserves protection from harm. As our council members, please do your best to protect everyone without question. Using electronic smoking devices or any tobacco, and hopefully you understand that electronic smoking devices have nicotine in them, and nicotine is derived from tobacco. But anyone using these, it's a person's choice. But inhaling the aerosol emitted by the exhalation from an ESD is not a choice for an innocent bystander. And this aerosol emits particles from that lodge deeply into the lungs of non-smokers. And when particles are causing this deeply in the lungs, it's very hard to do something about it once it's happened. As we know with menthol cigarettes, the cancer caused by those cigarettes is usually deeply on the lungs and inoperable. We have enough science to make an intelligent decision. We have lots of evidence. And we know that ESD secondhand aerosol is dangerous to the public's health as it contains these ultrafine particles, toxins, and carcinogens. I want to know that all the places where I go, where I work, where I play are healthy places to be. There should be no dispute in including ESDs into all our smoke-free laws, especially in parks. In order for our laws to work, it's very important that they're consistent, they're clear, without exceptions. Thank you very much. I hope that you will pass this bill.
Thank you very much. We're going to Pahoa. Please introduce your testifiers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our first of the last two will be Ms. Toby Hazel, representing herself and seniors of Puna. Speaking or commenting on communication 106 4.2 as well as bill number 302.
All right, thank you. Good morning again. I'll try to stay completely on track. And I just wanted to say some of the things that have come up that we need to know about the emergency and island-wide coordination has to do with senior transportation. We have heard nothing about this. We don't have our senior center anymore because it went back to the fire department, which we're happy to have them on this side of the flow. But for whatever reason, Park and Recreation has not followed through to continue the needed activities and services that were present at the senior center. In particular, I think that the senior transportation and bus service could become very important to seniors that have never even used this service yet. We'd have to have a designated bus stop or bus stops in order for this to function well and to get people in and out should 130 be closed. I do agree that we shouldn't be closing it ahead of time. I also live in Nanavali, And I started thinking the other day, how much traffic is really going to go right by my house, down the road to this connector road, day and night possibly, to get in and out of our area. Many people that don't live in Nanavali will be coming to use that one connector road. And the subdivision itself hasn't decided how they're going to safeguard us, not only traffic-wise, but people coming into the subdivisions sometimes want to rob or loot your house. This is happening to people right now, not only from within the subdivision, but outside. So we have tons of more traffic. I don't know. I don't understand why we can't just make railroad go straight into Hilo, please. Please. You know, because what's going to happen is a huge traffic jam at the bottleneck in KL. Why these crazy state engineers who have degrees, and you would think they could think things through, have decided not to fix the bottleneck as you enter the bypass in KL. You still have 3 lanes going into 1 lane with all this widening that they did down the way at Paradise Park. They have not fixed this one critical area. And now you're going to add even more to that just by bringing people around railroad right back into the log jam that has not been fixed down there. I don't understand it, but you know, what do I understand? Also, the air quality. As the lava comes closer into the town, at one of the Thursday meetings, I asked, who's going to monitor this? Well, the health department said the fire department, and the fire department said the health department. We cannot play ping pong like this. It's very stressful. Let's figure out who's in charge of what. And right now, the fire department doesn't seem to be willing to say they even have a monitor to monitor it. The post office, God bless them. If we have to drive into town to get our mail every couple of days, we're going to be really pissed off. Okay, so now I just want to say one brief comment about Bill 302. I've never really been a smoker. I have smoked a cigarette occasionally, but that's only if it's okay with everybody that I'm with. I can't stand it. When I'm down at the hot pond early in the morning, taking my exercise, one person smokes down there and the smoke comes out to the hot pond just like that. It's just really, I mean, 20 years ago, I'm calling up trying to find out why we have to have this sort of thing. So I'm glad we finally have decided to go ahead and say that it's not okay to do this in the parks and public places. I mean, I don't want to smell a cigarette. I don't want to smell burnt cabbage or whatever the hell they're putting into that device that they're smoking. If there's aerosols, if there's lead, paint, whatever it is, do it at home. You don't need to do it around us. It does affect us. And especially the woman that talked about asthma and breathing problems. I know more and more children have these problems because of all the environmental challenges right now. A lot more children have asthma, and I don't want it. I don't want it in a public place. They can smoke in that guy's store. There's 90 million places they can smoke without bringing it into the parks or the other places that we need it to be clean there. So please close up the loopholes, and thank you for having the communication and having this bill present. Long overdue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, so you should be our last. Our last testifier here in Pahoa will be Miss Katarina Colina. She's representing herself, and she'd like to speak in support of communication number 10642. Whenever you're ready.
Aloha. So I would like to point out that we're not in kingdom, and this is, and Mayor Kanoe is not a king. What I'm talking about is emergency powers. We cannot have a situation where mayor can decide what is an emergency and keep it as long as he wants. So nobody's consulting Harry Kim, who had so many years of experience with Kalapana flow and managed to get tourists involved, press. Everybody was able to have, in a responsible way, access to lava. It's not an emergency, not flowing right now, or if it's flowing at a snail's pace. Another thing I want to talk about is emergency plan for PGV. Just yesterday, I don't know if you know, there was a pentane explosion. Oh, by the way, PGV is releasing 40 hours of pentane a day into our community every day. This is not clean, sustainable energy. During the ZEL, so many people were trapped in their homes and guests because there was no regulation of PGV being told to shut down before the hurricane hit. So there's no overseeing of PGV, and that needs to be done before our roads get blocked. As far as the roads and people being concerned about transportation, we only have two bus loops, two times a day, bus loops going through Lower Puna. Who's going to get rid of their car if there is no public transportation? It's not working. It is not working. We need more buses. We need more transportation so we can relieve the roads. And also, I just want to get back to PGV. 1 megawatt of 38 that PGV is producing is used by Lower Puna. We don't need PGV. We don't want it. We've been gassed by it. Please have Halco install the microgrids that are working wonderfully for small neighborhoods on the mainland or continental US. They're working great. Okay, this is what we need. We don't want to be on oil. We don't want to be on toxic geothermal energy. We want solar. Solar is not perfect, but it's perfect for transitioning to a cleaner energy future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We're coming back. Jennifer Griffith, please identify yourself and go on.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Griffith, and I'm a tobacco treatment specialist and the tobacco treatment program coordinator at Bay Clinic. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come and speak with you guys today. I'm definitely in support of Bill 302, and I have many concerns related to the use of electronic smoking devices in public. As a young child growing up in a non-smoking house, I was captivated by the cool factor that came along with cigarettes. As a child in the 70s, I could readily find candy bubblegum and candies that were made to initiate cigarette use. And they mimicked the smoking behavior of our older peers and increased the behavior along with me and my brothers. My brothers also went on to the big league chew gum because they were both baseball fans, and we saw that as normalized behavior on television. One of my brothers became addicted to smokeless tobacco, and my youngest brother and I were both heavy smokers like that. I'm a former 2-pack big smoker for 23 years. I've been smoke-free for about 4.5 years, and currently I'm counseling patients on the south and east side of Hawaii Island and stopping smoking. We do know that there are definitely approved smoking cessation devices, including an inhaler that mimics the hand smell that most people have when they're trying to stop smoking. So we do know there are regulated. The electronic cigarettes are not regulated, and that's a giant concern for us. We're also seeing electronic cigarettes in places that we haven't seen regular cigarettes in many, many years, such as TV, sports, and on camera. Just yesterday, I was at the health fair at Hilo Elementary School, and I had the opportunity to talk with third graders about how they felt about smoking. When asked if they thought cigarette smoking was cool and okay, very few raised their hands, and even fewer raised their hands when they were asked if they were going to try cigarettes when they got older. When asked if they thought vaping and electronic cigarettes were cool, most of the kids raised their hands. Even more raised their hands when they were asked if they would try electronic cigarettes when they got older. The children said they would try them because the commercials told them they're safe, and that they see intermediate and high school students using them. When asked why they would not try cigarettes, they responded because they're smelly. And one child even said, well, they come in candy flavors, when asked why they were going to use electronic cigarettes. Without the research to back up the claim of safe vaping, it's teaching a new generation to use a product that can lead to addiction. This safe product assumption is only reinforced when it becomes commonplace and normalized to see the products being used where we have not seen cigarettes in many years. I vividly remember, in my practice, I've had many clients come to me to try to stop smoking cigarettes who've also used ESDs, and many have gone back to regular cigarettes because there's something missing in the ESD or the sensation is not the same. I've also seen an increase the past several months of clients who come to us because they want to stop the ESD. The addiction to the nicotine is still there, it's still very strong, and we need to find another way to stop it. The ESDs are not regulated, we do not know they're not addicted, including the right to use them as Employers Association, and where we know that we have safe regulations.
Thank you very much. Jessica Yamaguchi.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the council. Thank you very much. My name is Jessica Yamaguchi. I'm the executive director for the Hawaii Public Health Institute, which houses the Coalition for Tobacco-Free Hawaii. We are in strong support of this bill, Hawaii County Bill 302, and support including ESDs in all of Hawaii County's smoke-free air laws, which will really provide for further consistency and protections of our residents and visitors. Our organization is concerned about ESDs for several reasons, including secondhand aerosol, dual usage, and youth usage. Currently, ESDs are not regulated at any level.
Excuse me. Hold our time for a second. Somebody's mic is open in one of the outlying areas. Would you shut down all of your mics? Thank you. Go ahead, give her a couple more seconds.
ESDs do not just emit a harmless water vapor as claimed by the industry. They produce a secondhand aerosol from ESDs that contain nicotine, ultrafine particles, and low levels of toxins. According to the World Health Organization, they recommend that legal steps should be taken to end use of e-cigarettes indoors in public and workplaces. Evidence suggests that exhaled e-cigarette aerosol increases the background air level of some toxins, nicotine, and particles. We are also very concerned about the trend of the youth use. As you've heard from several of the testifiers, we have really seen a decrease in use of cigarettes, but we're really seeing an increase of usage and experimentation with our youth and the e-cigarette products. They've been looked at as being very cool products. They're flavored. They get advertised on television. And finally, we're also concerned about emerging research that really shows an increase in dual usage. So with cigarette users who are not necessarily quitting their cigarettes, but using both cigarettes and e-cigarettes, because they can use their e-cigarettes everywhere that cigarettes are prohibited. And this is really something that the industry has been marketing their tool for. If you look at a lot of the commercials that air on television, it's about taking back your freedom. It's about being able to use these products where you can't use cigarettes. It's about skirting all of the laws that occurred around smoking cigarettes. And so that's something that they really are trying to capitalize on. In Hawaii, our state has made some movement toward protecting employees, first by prohibiting the use in all Department of Health facilities, then by extending it to all buildings under DAGs. And some private businesses have adopted policies to prohibit the use of e-cigarettes as well. But many businesses are unaware that they're able to adopt such policies, and it's not fair to put this onus on all of our employers to do. We really need to take that step and protect all of the employees. And I think Hawaii County here has an opportunity to be the first in our state to pass this. More than 200 municipalities across the country have already done this. And so it would be a great step. I just wanted to make a point of context really quick too regarding the Surgeon General that was brought up. It is a former Surgeon General who actually joined the board of the e-cigarette company.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more testifier and then we're going to take a break. Mrs. Marks, please come forward. Please identify yourself.
Good morning, Council. I'm Carrie Marks. I live in Pomona City here on Hawaii Island. I will be brief. I'm speaking on both agenda items. The first one I want to speak on, though, is the banning e-cigs. I think you need to look seriously at why you're doing this. If this is seriously a public health issue, and somebody might accidentally walk by somebody at a park exhaling an e-cig, you must ban barbecue grills. That stuff goes all over the park. Every time you light it up, there's smoke everywhere. So if that's the concern, public health and safety, ban everything. Ban it all. I can't burn garbage in my yard either because you've already decided that that's a public health issue to my neighbor. So just be clear about why you're doing this. If this is in fact government overreach and a nanny state being put into place, then own it. Call it what it is and own it. Okay, and if you are serious about protecting everybody's air, you heard about pentane. That geothermal plant makes 40 pounds of pentane every single day on a good day. Yesterday, a loud boom was heard in Leilani, and it turns out that there was a pentane explosion that the newspaper reported this morning as sort of an after effect at the last paragraph of one of the front page stories about the lava flow, that there was a pentane incident. So if that explosion isn't an incident, then I don't know what is. So that leads me to the communication on the lava flow, whatever the name is on that one. I'm very concerned about Act 111. I'm very concerned about the militarization of Puna and the absolute lockdown of freedom of movement. I am concerned that the media is getting all of their information from a government source. Nobody is allowed behind the barrier. You can't take pictures, you can't take video, you can't even talk to the neighbors. They are complicit in their going along with this too. So I want some information that is free and equal and not government generated. That's a problem for me. The road should not be closed through Pahoa. The reason it's closed is because one lane is entirely taken up by cinder that is protecting Helco poles that go to PGB, because that's not just a distribution line, that is a transmission line, okay? That line goes down and cemetery goes down, PGB goes down. So again, I just think everybody needs to be clear about what's really going on down in Puna. And even all of that is just guesses because nobody really knows, nobody's allowed behind the barrier. $20 million have been spent so far for roads that nobody wants to use. Everybody wants to help Puna. Everybody wants it to not be an island on an island. But can we please think seriously about how we're expending these funds? The mayor has been given a blank check by Act 111. Last year, we took $60,000 out of the geothermal asset fund to paint stripes on a road because we were running that short on the budget. 60K out of a mediation fund to paint stripes on a road. And now we're just bulldozing. Yes, everybody needs some answers. We need some bus routes, we need some services, all that kind of stuff. But we also need some non-government-ish and generated information on what's going on down there. That's it. Mahalo, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Marks. Are there any testifiers in any of the other locations that have not spoken yet? Hearing none, public testimony is now closed. We're taking a 10-minute break. Council members, 10 minutes. 10.
I want to get away from this. I do.
Okay.
Everything I can.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and for sure.
No, I'm not on the lava side.
Oh, great color. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Oh, okay. Like which of which I have a copy.
No, I know, that helps.
Yes,
Yeah.
we need to go online.
Hello, Miss Molly.
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Hilo. Crazy. No, but it's slowed down, so that's good. No, I'm on the Hilo side. Yeah, probably just have to check. I don't even know. Oh, yeah. I'm sure that it's.
Okay, I will definitely help you now.
So much risk. I have risk issues too. But I had never thought, I had forgotten all about this.
Okay. Yeah,
Print it up and open. Yes.
I'll definitely do that. Thank you, Hannah. Should do that. How you doing?
Oh, I know, yeah.
Matching sort of. It'll be a full day.
It will be, I know, I was noticing the big gap between the 9:15 and 1. Now I know why.
We're gonna take it up. Yeah, for a change, I got a lot to say.
On this, for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh.
It's a tough one. It always is.
Yeah.
You got something?
Oh, just questions if you have any.
Oh,
Help you out of here.
Okay. All right.
She wasn't. Yeah. Well, they don't say I take it. Yeah, that's so cool. There's no law that prohibits it. There's no law that prohibits it.
Do that anyway. It's really cool when one of our
What was the
years of company, regardless. It can't be bad.
That's not my issue.
Jeanette? Thank you. Run. Okay. Okay, Jeanette, are you ready? No, they both missed. You ready? Okay, Jeff? Okay. We're calling this meeting back to order after our recess. Thank you. All right, council members, we have a situation. We have two equally difficult issues. I have a police captain in here who's here to speak on e-cigarettes. If you want to take one or the other first, it's okay, but I would like to put e-cigarettes on the floor. Let us talk to the captain, and then if you want to go back to the other issue, I'll table the e-cigarettes to the end of the lava flow discussion. So tell me what you want, because I'm going to get this captain up here. I got to put him back on those feet. Yes, I recognize you.
I'm happy, I'm fine.
We have to wait.
Oh, not that I know
Not that
of.
we're aware, right? So I think
Let's do this one. Okay, all right. Come on up, Captain Dorian. Okay, Mr. Clerk, would you read in the e-cig legislation?
Bill 302, amends Chapter 14, General Welfare, Article 4 of the Hawaii County Code 1983-2005 edition as amended relating to prohibition of smoking in certain places and the use of electronic smoking devices. Prohibits the use of electronic smoking devices in all enclosed and partially enclosed places within the county where use of tobacco products are currently prohibited, and also prohibits the use of electronic smoking devices at all county parks and recreational facilities. Reference Communication 1091, introduced by Mr. Kanuha, postponed October 14, 2014. Note, there is a pending motion by Mr. Kanuha and duly seconded by Ms. Eoff to recommend passage of Bill 302 on first reading.
May I have a motion? Oh, it's already done? Who seconded? It was postponed. Thank you so much. And Captain Dorian. please identify yourself by rank and title of name. And then I'm going to allow you to tell us the response to the police department to my letter saying, what do you guys think? Go ahead.
My name is Captain Andrew Murray, and I'm the captain of the Hawaii and North Hilo districts. Basically, exactly. Let's see, we'd like our thoughts on the cigarettes, this bill. Basically, the police department is neutral in regards to this bill. We do have some concerns, though, and those concerns would relate directly to any additives in the e-cigarettes, such as some kind of drug, narcotic, something along those lines, and the recognition of that, and then the possibilities of parks and other county facilities. Secondary, I was also asked something about our schools, if anything, if there's been any increase noted. All I could query was our school resource officers, and querying them, they haven't seen a drastic increase. It should be noted that they are only notified about this if someone is caught with this. And students, I think, would tend not to self-disclose about the use of cigarettes to a police officer. So, take that for what it's worth. But according to the SROs, they haven't seen a drastic increase.
And the last question that I had requested of you was, right now you are empowered to go into our parks and cite people who are smoking in our beach parks, and got called in to go deal with somebody who's using an e-cigarette or some other kind of electronic device for smoking. What would the reaction of the police department be?
Well, obviously we would respond. At this point, it's not against the law, so we have to determine that. Obviously, if it's blanket, in county facilities, it'll be much easier for us to determine. But either way, we'll enforce the law.
Thank you for responding to me. So are there any questions? Okay, hold on. Mr. Kirkland, permission.
Do you have any stats on like percentage of 14 cigarettes, like each one?
I don't have it offhand. I know that there's always been practices there have been I'd say less than 10, but again, I can only speak for those districts.
We're just doing some surveying, 2 creeps here. I was told to give you a card if you guys show up.
Coastal Counseling?
Yeah.
Trans-Canada?
Yeah.
So you guys know you guys don't have permission to be here, right?
I'm not aware of any issue, just here at safety. If you would like us to leave, we'll leave.
Well, Trans-Canada's already been warned, right? Equipment will be confiscated if you guys return.
Pipelines are trying to go right through where the salmon spawn, and that's where we decided to put the action camp in. Last year we put a cabin right smack away in the pipeline so that they would not go through it. We just very recently, last year, we fenced it off because we saw ribbons in there for drill pads for them to start do test drills so they can drill a pipe right under the river there. We've been hearing all the media of all these pipes breaking and waterways getting damaged, and we just not going to accept that risk. We don't want to be 25 years, 10 years down the road telling our kids, oh, we used to have moose here and we used to fish.
We've never ceded or surrendered our lands to anybody here. There's no treaty. There's no relationship built with any government in the past. None of our people signed anything to let them make decisions on our territory.
Again, enforcement ceases to apply when the law is.
Tomorrow morning at 3, we may see some trucks attempting to get through to log the right of way. We're gonna have to differentiate them. So we're gonna go through all peaceful avenues we can. But in way of a warrior, if you go through and spend all peaceful avenues first,
makes it easier to add, let's say, electronic cigarettes, because it does have that people might consider as a cigarette. So it might be easier for a person in the public to say that, you know, this we don't know what it is, but this is something that shouldn't be allowed, or they might think that it's a tobacco product which isn't allowed in like parks or beaches. So this would kind of make it comprehensive in that the public would know that this is all encompassing, and make it easier to maybe enforce for you guys if they did call saying that this wasn't allowed no matter what in these environments.
Sure, if that was the case, that's right.
And then another question I had also was, let's say that, have you ever found, or has there ever been a case of the department finding an electronic cigarette or electronic smoking device with an illegal narcotic or an illegal drug within them? And can you explain what it was, or was?
This is secondhand information that I received. Because I have primarily as marijuana extract.
Okay.
You know, I'm not aware. I know people brought up other concerns about other drugs. We're not aware of that. We are aware of marijuana extracts.
Thank you very much. I've also been aware of that for the last several years, especially on the mainland. But I'm glad to hear, not glad, but I thank you for letting us know that it is an issue for the police department. Okay, thank you. That's all.
Follow-up question. Was mentioned it's at the facility, but we need signage. That really helps because, like, for example, if it's not stated out there, it's hard for the officer to enforce that, right? Things like that make it very helpful. Yeah. Right. And so if we do have signage, partially closed facility, county facility, and it has like about e-cigarettes, that would be enforced. If it's in the law, yeah. If this passes, it arbitrarily. Yeah, but then like say at an open park, and we don't have that signage, but e-cigarettes, but it's not in the law, then the officer could just, you know, it's not in the law, but there's no signage. You know, again, that comes down to discretion. Hopefully, that will be taken into account. Times will be modified. Right, makes it easier for everyone. Like I said, we you know, with a lot of the things that we do, our priority is educating correct about this thing. And such as the case with smoking in the car. And a lot of times, like, you know, I did on the council, this is my third term, like we do pass these different ordinances, but we don't fund the different departments funding in order to help enforce things. Like, so we need to depend on them within your budget to do the enforcement, which is hard too in some ways. Right? Sometimes it does become challenging. Thank you.
New messages received from Mayor Chris Lawinski.
Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. I know you've got a lot to do out there, so thank you for your time. All right, thank you. Now, this is New
messages received from Mayor Chris Lawinski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to thank all the testifiers coming out here today. It's really, I really appreciate it, and we all appreciate you guys' testimony, and we really take into account everybody's words and opinions. So thank you guys. Let me start by saying that the only purpose of this bill is quite simply and explicitly add electronic smoking devices into our already existing smoke-free laws and prohibiting them in all public places where traditional smoking is already not allowed. This bill is not, and I will repeat this for clarity purposes, is not to prohibit anyone from using electronic smoking devices. nor does it restrict anyone from purchasing electronic cigarettes for as long as one can legally do so, and it is certainly not designed to hurt anyone's business in any way. Again, the bill, in this bill, it exempts businesses from this bill in that if you have a certain percentage of sales with tobacco or electronic smoking devices, you can still smoke inside your shops, so it doesn't hurt them in any way. I never wanted to do that. That's why we exempted that in this bill, so if you read carefully. This bill is all about preserving the public health. Smoking is a personal lifestyle choice. As Americans, we are free to make those choices, but with freedom also comes responsibility. The right to smoke should carry with it the responsibility to not harm others. Electronic smoking devices are not regulated by the state or federal government, and therefore all emissions and chemicals released in exhalation are also unregulated. There's now growing evidence that suggests that ESDs don't just release harmless water vapor as the industry claims. They emit aerosol that contains nicotine. In some contain nicotine, ultrafine particles, and low levels of toxins. So if you're around somebody using electronic cigarettes, you are exposed to secondhand aerosol that contains all of these harmful things. So again, this bill is to ensure the public health is preserved and protected by prohibiting the use of electronic cigarettes in places where smoking is already prohibited. You know, with that said, I listened to what everybody was saying at the last committee hearing. While most of us support the idea of banning the use of ESDs indoors, which was the majority of what I was hearing the last time, some of us are of an opinion that using them outdoors might be a little too restricted and suggested that an amendment be in order. You know, I'm not going to be introducing an amendment today. I saw one earlier, but for myself, like, I firmly believe that ESDs should not be used anywhere where people congregate. That includes public outdoor spaces like our parks and beaches. And here's a few examples why. You know, while e-cigs are perceived to be less harmful than regular cigarettes, they are still harmful. It's a question you want. You know, a small dose or a big dose. Again, it's one's choice to smoke. Just don't do it in a way that will harm others. Of course, I mentioned the enforcement is easiest to apply when the law is consistent and comprehensive and clear. If we start making exceptions, enforcement becomes a challenge, and it creates further public confusion as to where one can and cannot smoke. Uniformity to me is you know, what was said earlier, over 200 communities or counties or municipalities in the country already have banned e-cigarettes in both indoor and outdoor public places. And to myself, you know, that's why I propose this, is to join in that that campaign. You know, council members, you supported bills earlier for public health, you know, to raise the age of tobacco products of sale to 21. You know, in doing so, you have hopefully raised smoke-free generation, and that's what we're trying to do here as well. You know, for myself, I always try to make it simple and say that, you know, if I took my kids to the movies or took my nieces and nephews to the movies, as someone said at the last meeting, and someone was using an electronic smoking device around them, is it okay if that goes into their space? Is that okay? And for myself, I said no. You know, if I'm at a restaurant with my dad and uncle or mom and grandparents, and somebody's smoking around us, and the aerosol goes into our face, is that okay? And for myself, I said no, that's not okay. If I'm at the beach with my kids or nieces and nephews, sitting at the beach, and somebody's smoking this around us, and it's also, you know, the wind or wood next to us, if somebody's doing it nearby, is that okay to be done in our parks and beaches where already smoke-free laws apply? Is that okay? And for me, I said no, that's not okay. So I humbly ask for your support in this, and I'll answer any questions that any other council members have.
Thank you. Mr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Puna. I speak in full support of this bill. And what I like about it is it is straightforward. I know, you know, there's similar concerns raised today, like were raised in the past, regulated smoking in our parks and use of tobacco products. But the key issue that you hit upon is public health. We talk about undesired exposure to toxic chemicals to the health of others, especially children, elderly, and those that have respiratory conditions. We need to be respectful of those. Even if we were to say that the health effects are still undetermined, we talk about being safe, being respectful, especially to our health. We can never be too safe. If we have some evidence, which we do, that the vapors are in fact harmful, we need to do the right thing by protecting others that are choosing not to be exposed to it. And if, at a certain point in time, it's proven that it is safe, we can address that as well. In the meantime, if we remember, we think about how long it took our government to regulate tobacco use. That took decades on decades. There were millions of dollars spent in fighting that fight until they couldn't fight it anymore. The facts were the facts. And so, without really commenting on the health effects, we do have evidence presented to us that shows it is harmful. But if people choose to use it in privacy of their own home, that's perfectly fine. We're not again prohibiting the completion, just regulating where you can. Again, this is again to me focused on the health issue, as far as again whether children, and I gotta say children especially, because I'm just gonna repeat something I mentioned before. As children, we really don't have choices about what we're being exposed to by adults. So I think as adults, we need to be responsible. Most of us as adults make responsible decisions, but sometimes we don't. So we as lawmakers need to help form laws that regulate the activities of adults to make sure that children are harmed. And vaping or the aerosol that comes out of these devices, there again is evidence that they are harmful. While the FDA has not acted, we've been waiting on the FDA for I don't know how many years too. So I think other municipalities have taken this issue and have regulated their use. Again, it's not saying that it's being banned. It's just regulating the use. Again, focusing on those that choose not to be exposed to that. So I think that's the issue. Respectful to others. In public places, like I said, if it's in the privacy of your home or your property, that's fine. If there's other evidence to the contrary, otherwise we can always go back. But at this point in time, I need to be here now and protect the health of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. I'm sorry. Oh. He is Mr. Illigan. I'm going to grant you the floor.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
So I've been thinking about this, and I've been really trying to weigh out the options, the pros and cons. Right? And I've been hearing both sides. I also been trying my best to break this down to its basic form. And as I keep hearing all the different testimonies, I realize one extreme, and the reason why I'm trying to break it down to the basic form is because I'm trying to understand it and make the best decision as I possibly can. And the decision I want to make is we represent not only the majority, we also represent the minority, because we're taking everything in consideration. And what I came to a conclusion is that the basic form to this issue is that we would like to see a tobacco-free Hawaii. And that's one side. The other side is all tobacco use is accepted. So I'm trying to fit all the testimonies that I've heard. And a lot of us would like to see a tobacco free. But the other side, I don't really hear it as much too. I don't see people wanting to have tobacco being an acceptable lifestyle. However, they're not there. They're actually more towards the middle in the sense of they want to be able to sell this use in the sense of a tool, but not trying to sell tobacco. Because one testimony that I've heard is that they don't even sell tobacco in their store. So I'm trying to figure out what road could we take? And what's common in what I've been hearing? One of the common issues is that we don't, or what I'm hearing is that we don't want to invade anybody's personal space, and something indoors would be a violation of that space. And I hear from each side that they really don't want that. So they're accepting that. Now, we could either do as what we often do in this county is lay down the stick and do a ban. We get it a plastic bag. We get it.
New messages received from 21663.
Let's make a law to that. Now, what we could also do, and what I've seen businesses do, is let's try a different route in the sense of let's get a collaboration with our businesses and let's pay for the signage. And they voluntarily say we don't want to have any smoking indoors. And I know the path of this bill. There's going to be going through this committee, it's going to go through the first reading, it's going to go through the second reading. And during that course, I'm going to go into the different businesses and ask them, would you voluntarily ban the use of tobacco smoke-free zone in your business? And let's cooperate. Because the thing why we want to see a tobacco-free Hawaii is because of our children. And the thing about our children is we also don't want to just lay the laws on our children. We also want cooperation with our children. We want to walk together side by side. That they're smarter. And in their personal lifestyle, they decide to make that choice. That's their liberty and that's their freedom. And I feel like the use outside, I would support a smoke-free use of the device and unscented, but restricting it outdoors, I feel if we go that route, it's overreaching. So at this time, I'm out of time, so I'll yield.
Thank you. Ms. Willing.
Just to give this bill a little context, I want to say that I see this as a home rule issue regardless of how we decide. This has to do with health, and that is there's overlapping jurisdictions of the local government, the state government, the federal government. And as you recall, I was very concerned in the context of the GMO issues when on the state level there was the effort to eliminate the word health from the jurisdiction of this county completely. Okay, it passed the state senate, it passed the House up in one year, and I was the only government person there. So I think that it's important that we be able to think on county local level when it affects the health and well-being of people, regardless of what we decide, whether it's what I want or what any other individual want on this council. So I feel very strongly about that. Second, just emphasizing what this is a health issue, and I think that this county has taken a very strong position in terms of the precautionary principle and watching out for the harms that others take precedence. At the same time, this, as with many issues, is a conflict between legitimate concerns, the rights of the individual and the right of the common good, how to balance them. There really isn't any wrong side here. As I said, there are different. But again, for me, it's where on that uncertainty, which way it's going to be, that I protect those that could be harmed. I like what Councilmember Puna has said, like bringing this down to the basics. You know what, you're here, and the sort of the cool aspect. You know, you're out in the park and you're with kids and you're there and it's okay, it's cool. You know, it's fun and everything. It's cool. They can bring follow it, and I think, well, with myself, I see that environment with other people that smoke, and I just finally said, well, I might as well have my own cigarette because I was smoking with my staff or whoever else was there. So, if there were something where it was only where adults were allowed, I would probably balance out that. I mean, we're not going to ban, but I really feel wherever there are kids and you're sitting around the picnic table and puffing on the e-cigarette and you've got your kids all over, I have a problem with that. Really and, whether it's diabetes or lung issues or asthma. And that's my concern. So I really respect the private interest. If this were to be expanded and something came forward where I knew it's just at adults and it is legal, and I don't know what the law would be, but where children aren't allowed in the room or whatever. I'm not sure how that would be done, but I will support this, and I appreciate the issues on both sides. I listen to the police officer, but I believe that the enforcement issue is greater than I feel that it emphasizes some of those types of issues, and that if we constantly have conflicts and here I will be supporting it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank Mr. Puna for bringing this forward and for taking a stand. I remember how many years ago it was, the previous council tackled the banning cigarette smoking in our county parks. And, that was similar arguments on both sides at the time, and it was comfortable to have to make a decision. But I think in the end we did the right thing, and Mr. Yoshimoto was the advocate for that bill at that time. And I think we've progressed a long way since then as far as the awareness of what are health and safety issues. And our job here as council members is to protect health and safety welfare of our community. But it is, like Ms. Willie stated, there are legitimate concerns on both sides, either way we vote. I'm going to continue to support this bill. I was the daughter of a smoker. I think inhaling something that is rather than a product or vapor violates other people's health and their airspace. So I know, as Ms. Mark said, there's many things that pollute our air these days, and we have to be careful what we do and where we go, and everything's a stressor. So the things that we can remove, especially from our children's although I do have sympathy and empathy for those who are testifying today in opposition to it, I think this is not bad. Freedoms are not
Can you introduce yourself?
I am the Chief Coordinator for the Coalition.
Last week sometime we got to meet in my office, right? We had a discussion. And one of the discussions was trying to see if there's any stats about citations
did reach out to our chief as well as our school resource officers and Major Samuel Thomas, who is oversees Hilo Unit 1. And I didn't receive any feedback from them for the request, what the level of donations are.
And then also we had a discussion about at the first meeting we had in Puna, we mentioned about businesses that are, I guess, on their own, bank employees and customers, I guess, use devices.
Right, they made their own personal work.
And then we had a discussion about the theater, because it was brought up that a member was in the theater watching movies and they see the but you get to find out if, like, the principal view of
I believe Consolidated Theater has e-cigarette ban within their, I don't know for sure if our principal theater has a ban for this theater.
Yeah, because our discussions at that time, I thought I heard that our theater at Principal had a ban. And so, but you didn't get to check on that.
No, I had a statement with that as well, with the confirmation.
And then the last thing was, because, you know, I hear a lot about kids and this and that, and our discussion was, okay, so if a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old maybe smoking a cigarette or well, like a cigarette, is there any penalty for them?
As far as I know, in Hawaii County statute, there is not a penalty of possession of tobacco products.
So the only penalty or the only law that's right now underage is that you cannot purchase cigarettes or tobacco products.
The law is actually the legal out to an underage.
Correct. Right. But then that person could, if they get it somehow, seeing it from a parent or somebody, and they're walking down the street and they're smoking a cigarette, a police officer cannot do anything to them.
As far as I know, they can't, and that's not an area of that I discussed with the police department. You know, if they can or can't do that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So, Councilors, so my discussion is, or my comments will be based on, if you're looking at doing something like this, then I think we need to have some laws that are input, because it doesn't make sense if we're trying to protect the children, okay, and we want to protect their health. We gotta get laws in place, because we can pass all this, but if an underage, 17 years and under, is using these devices or tobacco products, there's no penalty to it. So what use is a bill when there's no other restrictions, especially for the age group that we're looking at? So I think that what we should do, maybe holding this up and making something much better, where we can try to get the state legislature or county ordinance stating that any minor under 17 years and younger will get penalized if they're caught doing their products. I think that we should start there first, because we can pass all this. Basically, it seems to me we're just restricting the adults from doing it at certain places. And we just heard that at the businesses, they're already doing that. They are restricting employees, customers from using it in their facilities. Okay? And that must be because they hear from customers or their employees, so the owner is going to say, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. Okay? So they have that privilege already. But then when we look at, okay, we always mention about the children, and there's no law about any child being penalized if they're caught doing any of the products. I cannot believe that. So to me, is that we should be looking at doing something like that first, and then we can move forward on this. Okay. And another thing that I think that I heard was that Colorado, they have these like strict laws about tobacco and e-devices. Okay. But we also got to remember, Colorado approved smoking cannabis. So Washington State approved smoking cannabis. So, you know, we're telling on one hand this is not good, but then on the other hand, okay, this other product is good. But And so I cannot understand that part. The last thing I just want to say is that, like I said, so now, and I had a discussion with Sally too about this, it was about signage. Okay, so we already, council members, we put up money for parks to go and purchase signs because we wanted to make sure that all our county facilities, no matter parks or enclosed or even okay, thank you. You know, they even have to get these signs posted so that the enforcement can be done. Okay, so now we do this, we might have to change those signs, or like Sally and I was talking about, we're gonna have to get decals made that can have to be posted. So if we're talking about, okay, how we're gonna get confusion, if it's on the sign and it says no e-devices, then people cannot do it there. But if it doesn't have that, then the people would know that you can use the products there. So that's something to think about. But like I said, we should be working on a law to help, you know, I guess the children under age, the minors, to have a penalty on them first. Thank you.
Council members, that concludes the first round of this discussion.
Madam Chair, may I just make a point of order? Could you remind the audience or the public that try to not make any remarks or anything that would.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. You're absolutely correct. I am going to admonish the audience. You should not make any verbal statements, no cheering, yelling, clapping, nothing. This is the discussion for the council members only. And our rules of decorum ask you to please stay silent. Thank you, Mr. Lagana, as well stated. Council members, we have completed the first round of this discussion. And I would request, if it's okay with you, that I be allowed to make a couple statements, and we can go into the second round if that's what you want to do. Okay, thank you. First of all, I'd like to say that I like the bill very much as it is written, with one possible page 4, number 14. Tammy, could I ask you to come forward for a second? Into section 14, we added after tobacco smoke or vapor does not enter the enclosed space. But in my reading, my research, I've been reading about the aerosols, that there is a difference between vapor and aerosol. Could you explain the difference to us?
Well,
please give your name first.
Tammy Fowler, I'm the West Hawaii coordinator for the Polish Hawaii. The difference between vapor, the industry calls the vapor a water vapor, whereas the research that's been done by environmentalists and other groups, there's a brand new focus out from the industrial hygienist recently. They see the aerosol as what Mr. Cunningham said, emitting particles as well as toxicants and carcinogens.
Okay. Let me see if I can restate that somewhat. The minute you said water vapor, water vapor is a gas. It's the gaseous form of water. Okay? Ice, liquid water, gas. An aerosol is not a gas. It is tiny micro droplets of whatever it is that go out into the atmosphere that we can inhale. We can inhale both vapor and we can inhale both the aerosol. The aerosol, depending on what's in it, and the vapor, if it's just water vapor, no biggie. But if there's anything else that's in a gaseous form, that could be a problem. And the aerosol is capable of carrying a lot of things besides the gas. Okay, have I got that?
Yes,
right? Okay,
I just wanted to add one thing.
All right.
There isn't any water in the materials or the liquid that's used. And propylene glycol is actually used to help eliminate water in any of the products that it's in. So if there isn't any water, the propylene glycol is getting rid of it, so there is no more.
In fact, propylene glycol is the substance used in antifreeze, right?
Yes.
And that's to prevent your radiator from freezing up from water.
And other antifreeze.
So to a play the other night, and they had a fog simulating device, and I was actually kind of horrified to read that it might be this substance, because I thought it was stupid me. I thought it was carbon dioxide, dry ice. That's what we used when we were kids to make fog type of thing. And I was having trouble because I'm asthmatic. I had trouble breathing. And when the intermission happened, man, I headed for the door to get some fresh air, thinking I was having a carbon dioxide overload or something. I didn't realize it was this other stuff. Anyway, that aside, thank you very much. I'm going to go on here for a second. One of the things we've been hearing in a lot of the testimony that I did some research on was you might want to stay in the front row. Okay, yeah, at least in the front row. I did the research on this particular article. This article is called Metal and Silicate Particles, including Nanoparticles, are present in an electronic cigarette cartomizer, fluid, and aerosol. And I thought, everybody's talking about all these metallic things coming out of these cigarettes. Where's it coming from? And this was where I found the answer. What is happening, by the way, these are electronic cigarettes are generally manufactured in China and are gaining acceptance, yak. It can deliver aerosolized nicotine or other things. And so this study was a study of the actual ESDs. And what they found is they're so shoddily made that they're particles of these metals that are made in the heating elements of these units. And they had things like, it was lovely. Some of these units, by the way, are being pre-used before they're packaged for sale. In the manufacturing plants, they discovered all the evidence of that. They had the nanoparticles tend to penetrate deep into the respiratory system. Lots of tin. Tin is being used in China. Instead of lead solder, they use tin solder, and they're finding that those particles of tin in the stuff. The aerosols are within the range of conventional cigarettes for chromium and lead. Nickel is about 2 to 100 times higher than the concentration in Marlboro brand cigarettes. Marlboro has always been advertised as one of the heavy hitters. And it just went on and on explaining how these cartridges, the cartomizers, are not being made very well. It didn't name any brand. It just explained, I'm sorry. Thank you. It just explained why the metallic parts are coming out of those cigarettes when the liquid you put in doesn't contain any of the metals. It's coming out of the actual device itself. So I just want to say that I support this bill. I think we might need to add the word aerosols on that page on number 14, so that nobody says, well, I'm doing a vaporizer thing instead of an aerosol type thing. Thank you. Okay, who's next? Mr. Puna. Oh, not you. Mr. Illica.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm glad there's going to be time, because right now I'm getting an understanding where the majority is on this bill, and it looks like this bill is going to go through. What I will do is take a different road. What I do support is any laws within our jurisdiction, which is the county, and that is a ban inside. But I prefer if the e-cig devices, if they had a smoke-free device and unscented, they'll be able to use it outdoors. That's just, from all the things that I've heard, I feel like that's the route I'm going. However, after this meeting, what I plan to do is go out to the different businesses and ask them, are you willing to ban e-cig devices in your store And would you be willing to cooperate in that and see how many support I can find out? Because I feel like I'm sitting here on this chair and making up all these laws. And I prefer to take a different route to the leadership that I want to see. And my vision regarding this issue is that really we want to see a tobacco-free. And CVS Caremark, as a business, did the right thing by pulling all tobacco products out of all their stores. Now that is the right step. What we're doing, I feel like, to me, personally, it feels good. But without the cooperations of all the businesses that are selling this product, we're not gonna get anywhere. And I feel like we really do need to take a different road. I know I have the time because this will go through the committee, this will go through the first reading, this will go through the second reading. But at this time, with the amendments that I prefer we go through, it's not on here, and I'll be voting no on this bill. But I will be going out into the community and gaining the support to ban any e-cig devices in their stores and find out how they feel regarding e-cigarettes. And the reason why is because that invasion of that smoke with cigarettes is what I dislike. But it is their personal lifestyle choice if they want to smoke a cigarette. And I don't ever want to see our government taking away that freedom, that liberty of that choice. But I would like to see a cooperation with our businesses and our government and moving through that direction. And I realized we just had a general election, and I realized how important it is to elect the right leaders. And I'm looking to be a leader that really cooperates with the businesses. And that's the first step I'm gonna take. I know it's gonna take a little bit more work, a little bit more time, but that's the route I'm headed. And thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing your testimony. I really do appreciate it. Aloha.
Okay, Sia.
I just wanted to say a couple more things. One is that even though certain states have legalized cannabis, I think it still regulates where you can smoke it. And it's not, I don't think it's allowed in public places. So I'm not sure from the law, but I think that might be something. It's sort of like, to me, two different issues. So right now I'm not thinking about whether or not we're saying e-cigarettes or electronic smoking devices should be legal or illegal, or whether there should be an age limit. I think I'm just sticking to the concept in this bill that we're protecting the public airspace for the benefit of everybody. And I think Mr. Iligan is correct in that he should, do his research. And I agree too. I mean, even when the plastic ban was being discussed, I wish that we could have been quicker with the education, and people would just willingly, want to bring their recycled bags or be careful where they threw their plastic bags. But that was a hard issue to listen to the council debate too. But they finally did do the ban, and I know there's objections to it. But yet, sometimes there just has to be a hard decision where you are being cautious and protecting everybody. So, or in that case, protecting the environment as well. But I appreciate your comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Iligan, I appreciate your comments. When you talk about personal freedom, I think it's something that's always what usually comes up, when we talk about issues like these that affect a wide range of, what affects everyone pretty much. Interesting thing is, when we're talking about this issue, the personal choice, personal freedom, I think definitely goes both ways in terms of the right to be in a clean environment, the right to be smoke-free if you choose to, or smoke if you want to. I mean, that choice, I think, will still be there if this bill passes. Now the question is where we can do it. So that's, I think, a good thing for you to look into. I did that in the past with previous legislation, so that's a good thing, and I'm interested to hear. I actually did an informal poll on my own on this particular issue, and some businesses just were reluctant because they were afraid of the impact on its customer base, and they're not sure what impact it would have. So they were comfortable in government taking the lead, so this is what they could do. I don't know if there's a middle ground. You can explore that too. I guess it depends on how many businesses you visited. I only went a half dozen or so, just places that I normally go and just get some good feedback on that. But yeah, when you talk about personal choice or freedom, I think just remember that goes both ways as far as the health aspect. Thank you.
Yes, I'll allow you to respond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say, first off, I appreciate that you did go out to the different businesses. That's awesome. And I just want to state this real clear and real quick, is that we have the freedom of speech. However, I think the limitation to that is someone in a movie theater can't yell out fire. There's that limitation. That's what I believe is freedom of speech. So I just wanted to make that clear. And I appreciate you being boots on the ground, Councilmember Yoshimoto. And I will do the same. Finally in a position of leadership, this is the way I'm gonna take things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alabama. Mr. Onishi.
Just wanted to make a comment what Ms. Yeo mentioned is that, yeah, there might be in Colorado, like certain areas that you can smoke cannabis, but then you can buy it in different shops, in whatever locations. So it is open to the public, okay? Because you have these shops in whatever towns or whatever type, downtown, whatever area. The second thing that you mentioned, and it's like you said, children, like I guess that law, doing something about it. And to me, when you talk about public, we're talking about trying to protect the public. To me, is trying to protect the children too, and that's our main focus. So if there's no legislation in there to help protect them, then we should be looking at putting in something. Because if we're gonna take it adults, like we still call it, say, public, children are public too. So we should be looking at that, and that's what I mean. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, yep, Mr. Kuha.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to, I appreciate everybody's comments. Very good points made here. Some, for myself, it looked like it was almost apples and oranges with compared to this law. If you want to protect the children from smoking, that's a whole different bill entirely. That's not this bill. So that's apples and oranges. This bill doesn't protect the exposure to the kids with regards to secondhand aerosol. So that's exactly what this will do. In places public, recreational places that are owned by the county. So that's exactly what it does. Not only the kids, but everybody else. People with disabilities, with lung disabilities. It protects them from exposure. So that's the point of this bill. I didn't want to get off on that other tangent, which is a whole completely different bill entirely. But just wanted to say that, I think this is a good step forward in public health for our county. And, we're not the only one to do this in this whole entire nation. Like I said, hundreds of municipalities have done this previous. So I appreciate everybody's concern, everybody's opinions, and I just urge you to pass this bill to first reading. Thank you.
I just wanted to make a comment about the apples and oranges again. The thing is, you know, I worked in government, and when we used to run activities at the gyms, you know, people would be smoking right by the door because they couldn't smoke in the facility. But then that smoke would go into the gym area, and parents just get upset because they worry about their children. And that's why, in one way, this, you know, to me, one of the arguments was about our county facilities. When we have activities for children, people would be smoking. We wanted to protect them from that environment. And so I kind of treat everything the same. It's like it's all one. It's not like we're talking like, you know, like we're talking, say like we're talking about cigarettes, smoking, but then now we're talking about driving a car or something like that. To me, it's all in one relationship. But I'm just saying that I feel, because I was surprised. I mean, I don't know if any of you folks knew that there was no penalty if a child 17 and under is smoking, that there's no law or legislation that restricts them from doing it, and we cannot do anything about it. And I don't think anybody knew about that, because I didn't know. And when I found from Sally, I was like surprised. And I said, why aren't we working on that first? Or why aren't we doing that? Right? And I don't know why they're not pushing this for that. Why the Tobacco Coalition, the Free Coalition, pushing for something legislative like that? That we should at least get that going already. But I mean, I was like surprised. So I don't know if you folks all knew about it, or if you folks knew about it. You know, that's great, but I didn't know, so that's why I brought that up. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to call for the question, voice vote. All those in favor of passing Bill 302 with a positive recommendation to council, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, clerk, Mr. Ilagon and Mr. Onishi have voted no. And, well, Ms. Poindexter is excused for the entire day, so it won't be, and one excuse, so that's fine. Thank you. So we're finished with 302. Now we're going to go back to communication 1064.2. Mr. Clerk.
Communication 1064.2 requests an update by the Civil Defense Administrator and the Public Works Director on the island-wide coordination of the lava flow emergency. From Councilmember Margaret Williams, dated October 17, 2014.
Ms. Willie? Yes. Okay, second by Ms. Onishi. Ms. Willie, go ahead.
Yes. First, I just want to say why this communication is important to me, and having a discussion here on the council level is that, number one, I agree with Senator Ruderman. This is not just a Puna issue, it's a county-wide issue and a state issue, federal issue. Second, given the sunshine law, I couldn't really check with others if they were going to bring something forward, and I wanted to make sure we did have a discussion here. And third, there are a lot of food folks that come and work in my district. So I have a particular issue. Even the person who brings the pouch to my office is looking at splitting our whole family up because of it. So, and then I just want to say that when things happened with Katrina and New Orleans, my daughter was there at one of those disasters. And everybody's sitting in front of the TV sort of waiting for things to happen, and then we decide what happens. And I just kept thinking, well, where are the plans? Where are the plans in it? And I can remember when she was leaving there, it was, well, where should everybody go? Nobody knew. We had to leave, but nobody knew where to go, and do we go this direction or do we go that direction? So and it's not necessary for it to be today, but I really believe that we need to have more information coming forward. Number one, I appreciate all of what was said by the people and their manao and hearing what they have said. I mean, I had questions. Okay, well, where is it that railroad road would come out, or I just different things that they brought up to be addressed. Both, number one, information access. I think I have questions about that. Housing, I actually asked for, and maybe there is someone here, I'm not sure, on housing, where if suddenly the road's cut off, where could people go? I think Senator Ruderman's point, we want people to feel they're safe in place. They don't have to be hurrying up and getting a house in Hilo before there's one left. They should know you can stay there, and if suddenly something happens, how can we provide something on a transitional or temporary level? Looking at the school situation and kids being split up, I'd like to have that presented. What is the plan? The post office, I'd like to see somebody come here and talk to us about that. The use of private facilities. I know I spoke to one of the owners of Lex Brody's, which has a place of business both in Waimea and Pahoa, and they said we're willing to give up our building for a community effort. Maybe it would be for the seniors, but they've roofed all their tires out. They have a large facility. They would make that available. How can we utilize that? And also just even tourism. I mean, we need money. Maybe can we do something where, let's get some money in where they could go look at the lava. I'm not opposed to that and trying to figure, is that possible without it being a safety issue? The emergency powers, I would like to understand better about that, and also about the federal funds. So I just wanted to get these thoughts out there and think about, so we're thinking about, if this happens, that's Plan 11, what do we do? And giving people a sense of, yes, things are uncertain. We don't want to make decisions right now that may not be necessary, but what is being done? And last thing I want to say, I did, since I was bringing up this, I wanted to go down again to the Pahoa meeting in Pahoa, and I just inched along in traffic. I went like an hour early, thinking I didn't early. I just get down and go around, maybe go to the health food store, do this, that, and the other. And here we are inching along. I mean, and what about an alternative route? Then I left at 8 o'clock at night to drive home. It's still a parking lot there. I don't know. I mean, I just see so many issues that, yes, I want people to not be, how can we relieve some of the fear, and how can we look at this, and how can I and my district look at it, whether suddenly we have to open our hospital and we have 300 tent sites. I just want, how can we move a little bit forward, and not that we have to do things, but think about these issues. The one thing I have focused with my constituents and in my newsletter is sort of some of the animal issues, and trying to connect like the Help Puna and the Good Shepherd effort, which works like pretty slip. So people can go to that and see if there are ways that they can help, where somebody says, I've got, 4 puppies and I really can't deal with it. This is, how can I deal with something, or my sheep or donkeys? So that's my point, and thank you very much.
Thank you. We have the Director of Civil Defense in Pahoa, Darryl Oliveira. I'd like to him to speak
Okay,
next.
let me just say, I had understood that he wasn't available, or I would have told him.
Thank you. I did get that information both before and after, that we would not have anyone available, but he has made himself available. Mr. Oliveira, please introduce yourself on the microphone and provide any information that you can. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, good morning. Again, apologize. We are still in operations mode here, so I'm in Pahoa, but fortunately available to step into the room and try to provide some information. Right now, we're in a very quiet period with the current eruption and flow activity. It's been relatively quiet down on the flow front. We haven't seen any advancement since about 6 days now down on the flow front. So it's really quiet. We do still have some breakouts upslope just in the area above the private residential properties. This is in the area of the cemetery off of Pahoa Street. So we had a breakout there yesterday that we walked around. It was extending maybe 15, 20 feet off of the flow margin into a forested area running perpendicular to the flow, so more in a north direction rather than an east down towards the community. This morning, it was, again, very quiet. There's burning on the edges, no real advancement since yesterday. So just some burning activity along the fringes, vegetation only, no hazardous materials. And then further upslope near the transfer station, we still have a small breakout there that is burning vegetation, producing some smoke, nothing that's causing any problem in the community currently. And then we have two other breakouts that we've been reporting in our messaging to the community. That's about a half a mile from Pahoa Street, as well as about a mile and a half from Pahoa Street. Both of those breakouts were moving in a north-northeast direction, but again, not much forward advancement since yesterday. So relatively quiet, but the one thing that we are maintaining vigilance with is that the scientists at Hawaii Volcanoes Observatory have said that we still have lava making its way down to the flow front. We are seeing inflation on the lava pad. This morning, as part of the media brief that we just walked out of, HBO had reported that in some cases we've seen at least 2 meters worth of inflation on the lava pad. So we do have activity and evidence to suggest that there is still lava making its way all the way down to the flow front. So at this point, we're not in any way reducing or downgrading the threat level or maintaining vigilance. And we are making, again, contact with the residents in the area that we do have the road closure and letting them know that although things are quiet, we're going to continue to monitor it for a while until such time that, you know, the technical experts at HBO can give us a much higher degree of confidence and assurance that the threat for the communities has been alleviated. But it also means that we're watching the 2 other breakouts upslope as to whether or not they may become the new flow, a new advancing flow as it receives material from the source. HBO is also good with sharing that we're currently seeing about 25% of the peak magma or lava flow that we saw earlier in this event. So it's at a reduced rate, but again, no indication that it's going to stop.
Thank you. Council members, do any of you have questions? Mr. Lagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make sure the right information is out. Administrator Oliveira, someone, actually testifiers, mentioned about the closure of Highway 130. Could you please let the council and the public know your plans, or what, could you please let us know what's going on with the closure of Highway 130 and the plans for the closure? Thank you.
Sure, we're current and we're aware of some of the maybe misinformation that's been put out there. I took a walk-up question from one of the staff at the Haas school yesterday afternoon. She was told that we were closing Highway 130 today. That is not correct. There are no plans currently as far as a date or time when to close Highway 130. Given that the flow has stalled at this point, there is no need to be moving forward with the closure of Highway 130. There's no threat. The best answer I could give you as far as when we would likely close 130, it would be balanced between the safety as well as the hazards that may be posed by any advancing flow towards that highway. We know that as the flow moves through the vegetation, it's going to produce smoke. If that becomes one of the hazards on the highway that may precede the flow actually making direct contact, that would be something considered with the closure of the highway. Another one is the visibility of the flow and glow, as that may translate into traffic hazards for people driving as well as parking and pulling over. So we're working very closely with the police department, state highways, Department of Public Works, to discuss what might be some of the conditions other than the flow having a direct impact that would then move the pulling of the trigger on closing the highway. But we would be definitely letting the community know well in advance of any intent to close the highway. We would also be letting the community well in advance of any intent to also open up Railroad Avenue as the alternate road to provide for access. You know, our goal is to make sure that people are familiar with Railroad Avenue well before there's any impact to Highway 130 and before any closure, so they can familiarize themselves with it, understand what might be some of the limitations and capabilities of the road, understand how that may adjust their time and commute and schedules. So all of that would be done well in advance of any impact to try to minimize the inconvenience on the community, but always putting the community safety first and foremost.
Thank you. There's one more question, and I'm so glad you cleared that up. The other question is regarding public assistance. Could you please explain what that means to the county that the president signed the Declaration for Public Assistance? Thank you.
Sure. The public assistance program, which we received the declaration from the president, allows for the opportunity for possible recovery of funds that have been expended by government as well as some of the nonprofits to date, with some of the measures taken to prepare for and respond to this particular event. A good example is the establishment of those alternate routes, such as Railroad Avenue, the improvements to Beach Road, and now the construction of the ongoing chain of craters. Those would be projects along with the also, let's say, mobilization and deployment and establishment of additional classrooms, portable classrooms by DOE at the Cal School. So those are all pre-impact measures or mitigation that was done that may be eligible for some federal reimbursement. It won't be 100% reimbursement. It's likely to be at a percentage, but at least it allows for the opportunity for the county and other government and some nonprofits to apply for some recovery costs, even though there hasn't been a direct impact, but some of the measures taken up until now in preparation of impact.
For my last statement, I just want to say thank you so much for all that you do and your staff, because it's been such a crazy time, and I really appreciate your dedication and your being so informative to the community and how much you care. I know it's not just Administrator Oliveira, also there are different departments in the county and also community organizations that have been involved. But right now you're here, and I just want to thank you so much. It's been tough, been really tough. And there's a lot of misconception out there, and the news makes it even worse. So I just want to say, make sure the information that you get, it's verified, and get it from the source. And we need to carry through this. We don't know how long this is gonna be. There's so many uncertainty. So let's all work together to move on and get through this disaster. So thank you so much again. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. Ladon. Ms. Young?
Thank you. Aloha, good morning, or good afternoon, and thank you so much for being here today. I know you're taking the time out of a very busy day, and you need rest, and I just wanted to echo what everyone's saying, to say thank you, because I feel that you've comforted the people, you continue to update everybody, you're watching as close as possible everything that changes, and I know you heard the concerns Mr. Lugan stated earlier, that people don't want access blocked from Highway 130 until absolutely necessary. So I'm sure that you can forward that message on to the people that were concerned. But I won't take your time. I just wanted to say thank you so much too. And good work.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to go through. Excuse me. Mr. Oliveira, I want to go through a couple of comments that were in Margaret's transmittal that you haven't had a chance to talk about. I did hear some of this on the news last night. What I hear, what other people hear, are different issues. So the alternate emergency routes. I understand that Chain of Craters Road has been connected all the way through, although they're still working on it. Can you comment on that?
Sure. Mr. Lee shared with us yesterday that yesterday morning, the two operations, one from the national park side, as the other one that had started and was moving and progressing from the county or state side. The operations connected in the middle yesterday, indicating that they have completed the initial access right through, and now it's the subsequent improvements we made to bring that road up to a drivable surface. Again, an all-weather packed aggregate surface that would allow for 2-lane traffic.
Thank you. Temporary housing for residents who may need to evacuate, and then also temporary housing for animals, pets, and livestock. I believe most of the livestock is out of the area, right?
Right. The livestock, we recently assisted another farmer. They had a few head of cattle that needed to remove, but for the most part, the livestock has been squared away in the immediate affected area. As was mentioned earlier, I believe the other agencies, the nonprofits, the NGOs that have been helping with housing as well as the pets. So we continue to work with that. And I apologize, I do have a talking point list of all the NGOs that are providing services to include support for those that are looking for alternate accommodation for pets, as well as housing. Again, I apologize, I bring my notes with me, but I can provide that information very easily to the council, and then you can share that with the constituents.
Thank you. If you have your staff take care of that for us. Another question was the coordination of the island-wide CERT teams or other appropriate organizations in regard to this disaster.
Yes, we've been using the CERT teams here in the general area extensively. You know, the CERT teams were instrumental, and it's something that is maybe not necessarily in the normal scope of the CERT program. As you know, the CERT program was designed to provide for response post an impact and provide assistance with those who may be isolated. But we see tremendous benefit with the CERTs as being resources from within the community. These are, you know, the faces of the community. They're helpful in going door to door prior, starting last weekend when we initiated the evacuation notice, and helping to make contact with the residents in the area, advise them of what was happening at the time. Again, this was done in concert with our staff at Civil Defense, but it was, again, a great effort that was done by the CERT, Civil Defense, police, and other agencies going door to door, just putting people at ease that although the flow was advancing, it was at a rate that we could give them lots of lead time to plan for the evacuation if needed, and that we would be around the clock monitoring this. And the CERTs, primarily from this particular region, have been actively engaged. We have not reached out beyond this region, again, in respect to try to keep the other CERT teams in their communities should something happen elsewhere. So again, a great program, great people, and it's been very beneficial utilizing them. And if need be, we can bring out additional resources from around the island.
Thank you. Public transportation needs, says on a county-wide coordination, transportation needs to get people in and out of the area if the main routes are blocked with lava, and the Chan Crater Road and the Beach Road handle buses or other types of vehicular traffic.
Yes, between the Transit Department, Department of Public Works, State Highways, again, a complete, I want to say, task force working on transportation, not just with the management and establishment of access roads, but the coordination of the use of mass transit to try to minimize the vehicles on the road, as well as to provide transportation for those that currently depend on the mass transit system. How can we establish possible park and rides that could then allow people to be shuttled to the larger buses? If we're down to Beach Road and it cannot accommodate a large bus, how to use a smaller vehicle to shuttle multiple passengers to then catch the bus? And that includes even some of the discussion with how do we reestablish Highway 130 as the flow moves through, maybe initially as a pedestrian access that would allow for parking rides, and then gradually build up to actual heavier traffic based on the stability of the surface of the flow and any other hazards that we would need to address. So a lot of solutions are being explored and contingency plans developed for, like I said, access, transportation, and many other things.
Thank you. The last thing that was mentioned today was public viewing of the lava flow. I don't know why anyone wants to go near that stuff, but anyway. You have restricted access. We all understand that, with good cause for having it restricted. Protect the residents, protect the public. If you have any other comments on the restrictions to public viewing of the lava flow.
Sure. Well, currently, the active areas of the flow are not accessible except if you went through private property. And as we've shared from the very start, one is the safety of everyone is first and foremost. Safety of anyone trying to access the flow, which is we balance that with the hazards that were experienced out there. HBO has shared slides with us as far as some of the methane explosions that they've been witness to, and the size of some of the rocks that were projectiles. So that's one hazard that's out there. We also have on the flow itself a number of cracks indicative of the inflation and the stress that the flow is under, as well as in some cases indication that we have hollow spots with significant temperatures below, that if people try to climb on the flow, they're at risk for fracturing through that surface and being exposed. Yesterday, I personally witnessed one of the scientists do a temperature assessment 4 inches below the surface. It was in excess of 1,500 degrees. So there are situations out there that are very dangerous. There's also the smoke. There's also the topographical areas or features out there that expose people to risk. So right now, as it's been proceeding, the flow has been advancing through areas that have its own unique issues and safety concerns. It is on private property. We're respecting the privacy of those landowners that have been affected already and those that may be affected by the flow, as well as what it would add to the safety concerns with managing that in the current location. If and when the flow picks up, we are, as a county, looking at ways that we can support public and managed viewing so that we keep everyone safe, balance that with the privacy of the residents. It's likely that it was to continue. If this flow hadn't stopped, it would have continued down to Highway 130, which might have been an opportunity for managed viewing in a more appropriate location with minimal hazards. Because the other thing that we need to plan for, and which we are planning for on any public viewing, it's the other pieces to that logistical, providing for restrooms, providing for ADA accessibility, providing parking, busing people in. So there's a lot of pieces to this than just saying let's viewing, because we're going to try to manage it in a way that ensures the safety of everyone. And I guess your question, why would anyone want to see it? I appreciate the question, but if you've ever had an opportunity to witness the eruption, one is it's this in this particular case, it's a very historical event given what it's potentially posing with and changing in the community. But it is a very spectacular natural phenomenon that may only be experienced here in the state of Hawaii versus other places, and could be done safely if managed properly. So again, we are committed when the time is right.
Thank you, Administrator Oliveira. You've answered all the questions that I see in Margaret's communication. I see no other folks. Ms. Willie does have a few comments or statements or questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for being here. And let me just say I didn't call you because I had been given a note that you weren't able to be here. So I echo all of the appreciation. And I just wonder how much is being put on your shoulders. I know I had urged Director Arnett to be here. I don't see that he is here. In terms of whether it's what's happening on temporary housing, what's happening on mass transit, and just trying to spread some of all of this weight where it's not all on you. I know I had constituents or people, not constituents, my district, but also that are Puna. And in other words, where they're trying to bring a bicycle or more packages, and every time, like a senior pays $1, but they bring a package or packages, they have to pay more dollars. So just sort of the little things that happen along the way and how we plan ahead, whether it's the post office or the housing, and how you see that sort of not just immediate today, tomorrow, but sort of longer term planning, and how I think everybody's doing a great job right now, but just how we can be even more proactive than we are.
Sure. Well, I guess with your opening comments as far as what's being, placed on my shoulders, what's probably not aware to the community, because I seem to get the media attention and the opportunity to address the community. It's a huge team effort. What we've set up is a complete incident management structure that consists of different operational branches within our operational unit. When I say branches, it's everything from, if you can picture, we have a road or access branch, we have a, let's say, transportation branch, we have a medical healthcare branch. So we've compartmentalized a lot of the responsibilities and have identified lead agencies. If I go back to access with the roads, I lean heavily on Mr. Warren Lee. He's been a tremendous support, and the lead, Ian Brandon from DPW, running the roads project. So the work has been effectively distributed, the responsibilities effectively distributed. So it's being managed as a team with the subject matter experts in their particular mission or operational branch. So if you have specific questions regarding housing, we do have a team that's working on the questions for housing in partnership also with the nonprofits and NGOs that are out there offering alternatives. Obviously, we would welcome any more input from the community, people who may have resources that they could provide. But I think we have a really good system set up with the work being effectively distributed. and manage, because in addition to this particular hazard, which is a priority, there is still the operational needs of the entire island and county that are still being done on a day-to-day basis. So through that effective, I guess, a distribution of the workload, we are able to sustain not just the operations here, but to keep the county supporting the entire island.
Well, I thank you for that, and I think that having this discussion is also helpful with the news and getting out some of the correct information that has been going around, and that we appreciate the presence of our news media here to correct some of the things that the misinformation that's going out. I know I have friends that live there and are moving to the mainland for at least 3 months just because they're afraid and don't know what's happening. So I think the more we can let people know that you can stay in place and you can be there, and where if suddenly something happens, they with their pet dog or whether they have an animal or not, could go and not feel pressured to go pay some, with hardly any housing left in Hilo or elsewhere. So I think the more we can get this information out and that you have this network and coordination, that would be great. And I don't know whether you were here when I mentioned about Lex Brody's, but they do have a large facility there, and the owners have indicated to me that they're willing to make that available to you or nonprofits or whoever to give to their your community. So thank you for all of your words and actions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Darryl, we can't tell you enough times that you and your team have done a phenomenal job handling 2 hurricanes and a lava flow, all pretty much simultaneously. We really appreciate it. I can tell you haven't slept in days, but so I hope you go get some sleep, and maybe we better get one of those special buildings and put a whole bunch of bunk beds in there for you guys to get some sleep. Anyway, you've done a great job as usual. Thank you so much, and we'll release you to go back to work some more. Okay.
Thank you.
Council members, all in favor of approving or of filing communication 1064.2, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Before I adjourn this meeting, we are supposed to have our next meeting starting at 1 o'clock. I think that might be a little too soon. You guys, you want to move it off to some other, a little later? 1:30. Well, 1:30 is the finance committee. Val's not here. Who's the vice chair for that? Mr. Illigan. Okay.
It's okay with me.
Okay, so what do you want to do about planning? You want to put it at the end of the day and come back at 1:30? Oh, where is Mr. Kern? Margaret. Okay, so do you want to take planning committee at 1:30 and then move everything, just keep moving it back? Okay, so 1:30 we'll be back. This meeting is now adjourned.